All right, we are back, and again, we are awaiting remarks from Attorney General Eric Holder, expected to address the Trayvon Martin case in moments. He is at a voting rights event in Washington, and he will speak about the Martin case. And we are going to get you that information as soon as it comes in terms of whether or not the Department of Justice is going to actively pursue civil rights charges in this case. So that is coming up. But moments after George Zimmerman was acquitted on Saturday evening, social media exploded, with Hollywood drawing special attention to this case. Kirstie Alley, here's some examples of it, tweeted this, quote, "White people used to make black people drink from separate drinking fountains," she said. "Now we just shoot their children." Okay, here's another one. Toni Braxton, "Today, I am embarrassed to be an American," she tweeted. And Katy Perry retweeted Ronan Farrow's comment, quote, "American justice still colorblind as long as you're white." There we go. Michelle Malkin joins me now, columnist and Fox News contributor. Michelle, Twitter has given these folks, everybody who wants to take advantage of it, a real forum, a soapbox to stand on during these kinds of events, and some of it comes out looking pretty questionable.
Yeah, looks like the beautiful people got really ugly over the weekend, and we were there to cover it. My curation and aggregation site, twitchy.com, really keeps an ear and an eye on what has turned out to be the world's water cooler. And that can be a perilous thing when people are reacting with such high emotion and heated rhetoric. I think the kind of insight that it gives us into Hollywood, it's not so much anything that's news breaking. Certainly Hollywood is dominated by leftists, but they're not just liberal.
Right, Michelle, I'm going to just jump in for a moment. We will come back to you. These are Eric Holder's live comments in Washington. He will talk about the Trayvon Martin case. Let's listen in.
Violence in communities across the country, the Deltas are deeply and rightly concerned about this case. The Justice Department shares your concern. I share your concern. And as we first acknowledged last spring, we have opened an investigation into this matter. Now, independent of the legal determination that will be made, I believe that this tragedy provides yet another opportunity for our nation to speak honestly about the complicated and emotionally charged issues that this case has raised. We must not, as we have too often in the past, let this opportunity pass. I hope that we will approach this necessarily difficult dialogue with the same dignity that those who have lost the most, Trayvon's parents, that they have demonstrated throughout the last year, and especially over the past few days. They suffered a pain that no parent should have to endure, and one that I, as a father, cannot begin to conceive. Even as we embrace their example and hold them in our prayers, we must not forego this opportunity to better understand one another and to make better this nation that we cherish. Moreover, I want to assure you that the department will continue to act in a manner that is consistent with the facts and the law. We are committed to standing with the people of Sanford, with the individuals and families affected by this incident, and with our state and local partners in order to alleviate tensions, to address community concerns, and to promote healing. We are determined to meet division and confusion with understanding and compassion, and also with truth. We are resolved, as you are, to combat violence involving or directed at young people, to prevent future tragedies, and to deal with the underlying attitudes, mistaken beliefs, and stereotypes that serve as the basis for these two common incidents. And we will never stop working to ensure that in every case, in every circumstance, and in every community, justice must be done. This is an aim we're proud to share with everyone in this room and with all who have contributed to the culture of excellence that has been this organization's hallmark for the last century. In the decades since Delta Sigma Theta was founded in 1913, by 22 ambitious Howard.
All right, let's go back to Michelle Malkin, who's standing by. Very extensive comments from the Attorney General Eric Holder on the issue of whether or not the Department of Justice will pursue this. And he said, we opened an investigation prior to the trial in Florida, and we will continue it. What do you think about it, Michelle?
Well, I would just warn that Eric Holder's rhetoric has never matched the reality. This is somebody who has posed as a neutral arbiter of law since his days at the Justice Department under the Clinton administration. And yet, under his tenure in every public office he has held, he has warped the rule of law. And he has a particular grievance when it comes to racial politics. This certainly was the case when they dropped the case against the new Black Panther Party, and it's only gone downhill from there. In voting rights cases, this is a man who has added more fuel to the fire when it comes to racial division, who referred to, quote unquote, my people. And so when you talk about him promising fairness and neutrality, like I said, there's a Grand Canyon gap and very dangerous. Even people who have worked under him, particularly Christian Adams, who worked in the voting rights section at the Justice Department under Obama and under Holder, has warned that this man literally carries a race card in his pocket. So when this administration, when President Obama said that he accepted the verdict, clearly that was lip service and not reality.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting to me, Michelle, when you talk about his follow-through on things, and regardless of whether or not you agree with on some of the things he's brought up. For example, I would look at the Khalid Sheikh Mohammed situation and saying that he must be tried in New York. Well, he ended up, you know, eventually dropping that idea. I mean, there are numerous examples of times when he has brought something up. Benghazi, that we would seek justice in the Benghazi case. What about Fast and Furious? What about Brian Terry? What about Brian Terry's family, who also grieves the loss of a son, and the acknowledgement and the commitment that there would be justice sought in those cases? It raises questions that people seeking their understanding of justice in this case might want to be wary of.
Yes, good point, Martha. Selective enforcement is the hallmark of this administration, and there are certain victims of crimes and victims of injustice who have gotten short shrift in this administration. And that's why, you know, when you look at the Department of Justice, it's really the Department of Selective and Social Justice. And this is the most dangerous thing of all, of course, because justice is supposed to be blind. But this administration only looks at it with a left eye, clearly.
You know, but how do you think he's serious, I guess, is the follow-up question there about pursuing this case? It has already worked its way through the court system, which was the reason that they stepped aside after beginning that investigation. They said, well, let's let it work its way through the system. Do you see them genuinely pursuing this as a civil rights case from that level?
Yeah, well, clearly they've got a PR campaign and a strategy to pander to the Trayvon Martin supporters and to a lot of members of the grievance monger lobby. Immediately after the NAACP, announced its petition after the verdict for the Justice Department to get involved, well, there they were. And both Christian Adams and Andrew McCarthy, who was on the show just a little while ago, have talked about the fact that the FBI had looked into this case and found no grounds to charge George Zimmerman with any kind of civil rights violation. But for the narrative and the optics, they need to keep him as a racist devil, when clearly that's ridiculous. And just to wind this back to the discussion we had at the very beginning about Hollywood, there's this pop culture incentive, this pop culture momentum to turn this man into a devil, and it's very dangerous. And what Obama should be doing, of course, is trying to tamp down a lot of the incitement that's going on. He clearly did that when he tried to cast the Tea Party as racist and divisive, but he won't step forward and try and diffuse this bomb. Look at the chaos that we're seeing in places like Oakland and other urban areas. Where's a responsible voice to say, calm down and let justice speak and serve?
All right. Michelle, thank you very much. Michelle Malkin joining us from Colorado. Thanks, Michelle.